हेलो फ्रेंड्स। आज हम डिस्कस करेंगे ओजोन गैस के बारे में। ओजोन गैस का एटमॉस्फेयर में फॉर्मेशन कैसे होता है, इसका डिप्लीशन कैसे होता है, तथा साथ ही हम उन ट्रीटीज के बारे में डिस्कस करेंगे जो ओजोन से रिलेटेड है, जैसे वियना कन्वेंशन, मॉन्ट्रियल प्रोटोकॉल। सो आज के इस वीडियो में हम ओजोन के बारे में डिटेल से डिस्कस करेंगे। ओजोन इज आल्सो नोन एज ट्राई ऑक्सीजन। ट्राई ऑक्सीजन का मतलब क्या हुआ? देर आर थ्री एटम्स ऑफ ऑक्सीजन, O3। दिस इज द केमिकल फॉर्मूला ऑफ ओजोन एंड द कलर ऑफ ओजोन इज द पेल ब्लू गैस। इट इज ए पेल ब्लू गैस। कई बार एग्जाम में पूछा था व्हाट इज द कलर ऑफ ओजोन? ब्लू कलर, लाइट ब्लू कलर। एंड देर इज ए specific pungent smell, ozone having the specific pungent smell। जब हम किसी वायर को जलाते हैं, when we burn a wire, so the whatever smell produced during the burning of fire, that is somewhat similar to the smell of ozone। And ozone is allotrope of oxygen। allotrope means क्या होता है? allotrope, it is a property of some chemical element that exist in two or more two or more different forms having same physical state। ओके। सो ऑक्सीजन के एलोट्रोप्स क्या क्या है? O2, O3, ये एलोट्रोप हैं जिनकी फिजिकल स्टेट सेम होती है, मतलब बोथ आर इन प्रेजेंट इन द गैस फॉर्म। ओके, बट देयर form is different, their chemical structure is the different। So this is the structure of the ozone. Here you can see the distance between oxygen and oxygen is 127.2 pm picometer, and the angle of between three atoms is 116.78 degree। Now the who discovered the ozone? So first of all, ozone was discovered as well as named। So ozone को खोजा गया और नाम दिया गया किसके द्वारा? क्रिश्चियन फेड्रिच सोबेन। क्रिश्चियन फेड्रिच सोबेन, इनके द्वारा 1839 में ओजोन को डिस्कवर किया गया तथा साथ ही ओजोन का नाम दिया गया। ओजोन इज the ozone name is originated from a Greek word ozoen, which meaning is to smell। It means ozone having a particular smell, it is a smelling gas, and ozone is a secondary pollutant। Okay, so as we know, the pollutant which are formed in the atmosphere by the reaction of primary pollutant, they known as secondary pollutant। For example, pan, peroxyacetyl nitrate, ozone, photochemical smoke, or acid rain, these are the example of secondary pollutant। The World Ozone Day celebrated each year on 60th September। ओके, 16 सितंबर को हर साल इसको सेलिब्रेट किया जाता है। एंड द ओजोन वर्ल्ड ओजोन डे सेलिब्रेशन वाज स्टार्टेड फ्रॉम 1994। The average concentration in atmosphere in India is ranging from 40 to 20 to 45 ppb part per billion। So this is the range of concentration that is present in the atmosphere of India। According to the United Nations study in 2018, the ozone layer is recovering at the rate of 1 to 3% per decade। So, United Nations carried out a study in 2018 and they found that the ozone layer is recovering and the recovery rate is 1 to 1 to 3% per decade। The ozone layer was discovered in 1993 by the French physicist Charles Fabry and Henry Buisson। Okay, and the ozone hole discovered was Franklin Joseph Harman and Barian Gardiner. सो आप यहाँ पे ध्यान रखिए, यहाँ पे दो चीज हैं. फर्स्ट थिंग इज द ओजोन लेयर. चलिए आपको बताते हैं. फर्स्ट चीज है कि ओजोन लेयर को किसने खोजा. तो ओजोन लेयर वाज डिस्कवर्ड बाय द चार्ल्स फेब्री एंड हेनरी बुइसन. एंड द ओजोन होल. So ozone layer and ozone hole both are different. So ozone hole is was discovered by Franklin, Farman and Gardiner. So these are three scientists who discovered the ozone hole. So इनमें कंफ्यूज ना हो, इस चीज का ध्यान रखो. Ozone is one of the most powerful oxidizing agent. It is unstable at high concentration and generally it is disintegrated into the oxygen in the atmosphere. The half-life of ozone in atmosphere is affected by the temperature, humidity and air movement in the atmosphere. Under the laboratory condition, when we provide some specific conditions to ozone, the half-life is range will be up to 25 hours, almost 1500 minutes in still air, means there is no motion in air at room temperature 24 degrees centigrade, zero humidity and zero air changes with per hour. Zero air changes means there is no motion in air or no movement in the air. In that particular condition or laboratory conditions, the ozone half-life of ozone will be 25 hours. Ozone is a primarily sunny weather problem in India, as the presence of sunlight has direct impact on the formation of ground level ozone. So the sun rays, or we can say light, play important role for the formation as well as destruction of the ozone in the atmosphere. That's why the sunny weather is a problem in the India. If there is no sunlight, there is no formation of ozone in the atmosphere. So heat, or we can say temperature, act a catalyst that facilitate the photochemical reactions in the atmosphere. Higher concentration of ozone are seen during the summer months as compared to the winter months. So समर मंथ्स में टेम्परेचर ज्यादा होता है, सनलाइट ज्यादा होती है. दैट्स व्हाई द ओजोन concentration observed higher during the summer month as compared to the winter months. The atmospheric transfer of ozone from equator to pole. Okay, so there is a phenomena when the transport of atom of ozone from equator to pole is known as Brewer-Dobson circulation. So this is a phenomena that is known as Brewer-Dobson circulation. Okay. The total ozone mapping spectrometer TOMS. This is a, I think you heard this name many times. The total ozone mapping spectrometer TOMS is a NASA satellite instrument. It is a instrument in satellite. Okay, that measure the ozone layer. The satellite that carrying TOMS instrument are Nimbus 7. This is a very common exam. In many exams, they ask which satellite is used for the measurement of ozone concentration of ozone layer. So Nimbus 7, Meteor 35, Adios 1, TOMS Earth Probe, and Quick TOMS. So these are the name of satellites that carrying the TOMS spectrometer. Okay, the concentration of ozone measured by Nimbus 7 satellite and NASA EP-TOMS satellite. So these satellites are used for the measurement of ozone concentration. Total ozone observation is conducted using Dobson spectrophotometer and Brewer spectrophotometers. So total ozone observation is carried out by two spectrophotometers, Dobson and Brewer spectrophotometers. The EU made set METOP A in 2006 and METOP B in 2012. These are the two satellites that carrying the instrument GOME, the Global Ozone Monitoring Experiment, which is dedicated for the measuring of ozone in the atmosphere. So these two satellites carrying out a specific instrument that is known as GOME-2, Global Ozone Monitoring Experiment. Now the ozone in the Earth atmosphere, okay. So mainly we measure the ozone concentration by the Dobson unit. This is very familiar with you, Dobson unit. There are two similar type words, uh, Dobson unit and decibel. Okay, so the decibel are using for the measurement of the sound intensity or noise intensity, and the Dobson is using for the measurement of the total ozone in the atmosphere. Okay, at particular point, suppose we are going to measure the ozone at a particular point. So at particular point, the ozone concentration is also expressed in the mole fractions in nanomole per mole or concentration microgram per cubic meter. Okay. So what is the one dopson? One dopson का मतलब क्या होता है? It is a unit, the number of molecules of ozone that would be required to create a layer of pure ozone 0.01 millimeter thick at a temperature of 0 degree centigrade and a pressure of 1 atmosphere. Okay. So one डोप्सन का मतलब क्या होता है कि द नंबर ऑफ ओजोन के नंबर 0.01 mm थिकनेस 0.01 mm थिकनेस में ओजोन के कितने नंबर हैं 0 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड और 1 एटमॉस्फेरिक प्रेशर पे, उसी को हम वन डोप्सन कहते हैं. ठीक है. So the column of air with ozone concentration 1 dopson contain almost 2.69 into 10 to power 16 ozone molecules per for every square centimeter of area at the base of column. So suppose this is the column. So here the base of column at 1 centimeter base of column having 2.69 10 to power 16 ozone molecules, okay, in each square centimeter of area. Over the Earth's surface, the ozone layer average thickness is 300 dopson. So generally the 1 dopson is equal to 0.01 mm. If these are 300 dopson, it means it will become 3 mm thick layer. So when the average ozone layer thickness is 300 Dobson unit, it means the average thickness of ozone layer is 3 mm thick. Okay. So आप इस फॉर्मूले की वजह से और इस कन्वर्जन की वजह से आप डोप्सन और mm में कन्वर्ट कर सकते हो और ओजोन लेयर की थिकनेस का हम आइडिया लगा सकते हैं. So here are two coins. In first coin there is the ozone concentration is 300 Dobson. 300 Dobson means 3 mm. Here the ozone concentration is 100 Dobson. 100 Dobson means 1 mm. So the concentration of ozone, ओजोन होल मीन्स क्या होता है कि ओजोन होल का मतलब ये नहीं होता कि ओजोन लेयर में कोई होल हो गया है. इट मीन्स देयर इज द concentration of ozone or thickness of ozone layer is reduced. So the generally when the ozone layer thickness is reduced less than 100 Dobson, it means there is the ozone formation takes place. The study of ozone concentration in atmosphere started in the 1920s. The height level of ozone in atmosphere in the ozone layer is present in the stratosphere layer, okay, and that is ranging from 10 to 35 kilometer above the surface. So ozone layer, the concentration in this ozone layer is ranging from 2 to 8 ppm, and the remaining is mainly is oxygen. So ओजोन लेयर में ऑक्सीजन की ओजोन लेयर में ओजोन की कंसंट्रेशन है वो 2 से 8 ppm ही होती है, और रिमेनिंग जो गैसेज है वो होती है ऑक्सीजन. सो देर इज नॉट मच कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ ओजोन इन द ओजोन लेयर. ओके. Now the ozone can be classified as a good ozone as well as the bad ozone. So good ozone का मतलब क्या होता है? What do you mean by good ozone? Good ozone is the ozone that present in the upper atmosphere, or we can say stratosphere, or in ozone layer. And this layer protect the living beings on the earth surface by the UV radiation that coming from the sun, because these UV radiations are harmful for the living beings. So that's why whatever ozone present in the stratosphere, that is known as good ozone. Okay. And this ozone is susceptible to many chlorofluorocarbons, because these chlorofluorocarbon degrade the ozone in this layer. Then after second is the bad ozone. Bad ozone, it is a ozone that present in the lower atmosphere, or we can say on ground or in the troposphere. Okay. So this ozone is act as a pollutant on the earth surface, and it is harmful for the living beings. So that's why it is known as bad ozone. So here you can see the ozone that is ozone that is present in the stratosphere, that is known the good ozone, and that is present in the troposphere, that is known bad ozone. So more than 90% of ozone present in the stratosphere, only less than 10% ozone present in the troposphere, and this less than 10% ozone 10% ozone act as a bad ozone. Now that there is a phenomenon, ozone paradox. So ozone paradox का मतलब क्या होता है? Ozone paradox. So generally क्या होता है कि the ozone concentration found more in the rural areas as compared to the urban areas. Okay, so this phenomena or this event is known as ozone paradox. So that's when we see the data since 1987. So in this graph you can see there is a continuous ozone measurement. When we see the data trend of data, you found that the rural area background concentration found is higher as compared to the urban background concentration. So why the rural background concentration of ozone is more as compared to the rural areas? So there are 2-3 factors. Because mainly the ozone formation is take place through the reaction of the oxides of nitrogen, VOCs, volatile organic carbons, in presence of the sunlight. They form the ozone. So different type of the oxides of nitrogen, volatile organic carbons, in presence of sunlight, they form the ozone. So mainly in the oxides of nitrogen, the nitric oxide means NO, is the main precursor for the ozone formations. And what is the source of NO? Nitric oxide. So mainly the vehicles is the main source of the NO formation. Okay. So more than 50% is NO is released by the traffic or vehicular activities. So in cities, the traffic or vehicles, number of vehicles are more. So that's why there is more NO emission. Okay, due to the traffic. And these NO react with the ozone, and they form nitrogen dioxide and oxygen. That's why whatever ozone present during the daytime, these ozone is degraded by the NO, nitric oxide. Okay. So the NO-based ozone formation in the countryside, or we can say rural areas, because in the rural areas there is less traffic, so there is less NO emission, so there is less ozone degradation. That's why the rural areas having the more ozone background concentration as compared to the urban area, because in urban areas, due to vehicular movement, there is more nitric oxide emission, and these nitric oxide is act as a precursor for the ozone formation, as well as it is also act as a ozone dis also degrade the ozone in the atmosphere. So when there is ozone in the urban area, these ozone react with the NO and form the oxygen and nitrogen dioxide. That's why there is the less concentration. So this is the radiation spectrum. Okay. Now we will see the discuss about the UV radiations. Okay. So now the location of UV radiation in the radiation spectrum. So here you can see these are the gamma radiation, X-ray, UV ray, infrared, radio wave. Okay. So when we go from gamma radiation to radio wave, the wavelength is continuously increasing. The wavelength is increasing, it means energy is decreasing. Okay. And after the ultraviolet radiation, there is a visible light spectrum that is ranging from 400 nanometer to 700 nanometers. Okay. And from 100 nanometer to 400 nanometer, there is a UV region. Okay. So by this formula, we can say if the wavelength is, because the energy and wavelength are reversely related. There is a reverse relationship between the energy and wavelengths. So when the wavelength is increasing, the energy content is decreasing of the different type of the radiations. Here in this figure, you can see out of light reaches the surface of Earth, UV is only 5 to 6%. So whatever amount reaches on the Earth's surface, in this radiation only 5 to 6% UV radiation is reaches on the Earth's surface. Remaining is absorbed by the ozone layer. So the UV radiation mainly classified into three categories. Okay, according to their wavelength. The shorter wavelength, the shorter wavelength UV radiation is more harmful as compared to the larger wavelength UV radiations. The UV region is ranging from 400 nanometer to 100 nanometer to 400 nanometers, and this is divided or classified into three categories. UVA ranging from 350 to 400 315 to 400 nanometer, UVB 280 to 350 nanometer, and UVC ranging from 100 to 280 nanometer. So here you can see this is the visible spectrum. Before the visible spectrum, you can see this is the UV radiation, and this is the range from 100 to, sorry, this is the range of UV radiation. This is 350 to 400 nanometer. Then after UVB, that is ranging from 280 to 350 nanometer. Then after UVA region, that is ranging from 100 to 280 nanometer. So these are the three different type of the UV radiations. So the UV radiation that having the shorter wavelength means the UVC having the shorter wavelength. It means these are more harmful as compared to the UV radiation. So when we see their harmful index, or we arrange according to their uh, harmfulness, lessness, then we see the UVC is maximum harmful, then followed by UVB, then after UVA. So the UV is less harmful and UVC is the maximum harmful UV radiations. So shorter wavelength UVC, okay, is the most damaging type of the UV radiations. So the wavelength of UVC is radiation is ranging from 100 to 280 nanometers. So these are most harmful radiations because these are completely filtered by the atmosphere and does not reach on the Earth's surface. So the UVC radiations are completely absorbed by the ozone layer, and there is more than 99.9% UVC is absorbed by the, or they are captured by the ozone layer. The UVB radiation, UVB is very biologically active and cannot penetrate beyond the superficial skin. So UVB radiation, they effect on the surface skin. They are not able to penetrate beyond the skin in deeper layer of the skins. The UVA radiation account approximately 90 to 90% of the UV radiation reaching on the Earth's surface. So as we know, only 5 to 6% of total radiation is the UV radiation that reaching on the Earth's surface, and among these UV radiation, 90 to 95% is UVA that reaching on the Earth's surface. So they can penetrate the deeper layer of the skin and responsible for the immediate tanning effect. And these UV radiation is also responsible for skin aging, wrinkling, wrinkles on skin, and tanning effects. So here you can see these are the different skins. Okay, three cross-sectional diagram of the skin. When there is the normal skin, here you can see both UVA and UVB can penetrate into the deeper layer of the skin, but UVA is penetrating more deeper as compared to UVB radiation. When we apply the UVB protecting sunscreen on the skin, so here you can see the UVB is reflected back to the atmosphere, but UVA is again penetrating into the deeper layer of the skin. But when we apply the broad spectrum sunscreen, so whatever UV radiation touching our skin, they are reflected back in the atmosphere. Okay. So the ozone in atmosphere is mostly produced from the short wave UV rays between 240 to 160 nanometer. Okay. So mainly the short wave radiations are UV radiation are responsible for the ozone production. So oxygen start absorbing weekly 240 nanometer UV radiation in the Herzberg band. So this is a specific band that is known the Herzberg band, that radiations in this band radiations are absorbing by the oxygen, and these oxygen is dissociated and by the absorbing the strong Sussman range band between 200 to 160 nanometer, where ozone does not absorb. Okay. सो इस रेंज में 160 नैनोमीटर से 200 नैनोमीटर की रेंज में जो ऑक्सीजन का डिसोसिएशन स्टार्ट हो जाता है, जिसमें और इसी रेंज में है ओजोन है वो यूवी रेडिएशन का एब्जॉर्प्शन नहीं करती है. Now the levels of ozone at varying altitude and blocking of different bands of UV radiations. So this is a diagram. Here you can see in the atmosphere, this is the stratosphere layer. You can see this is the stratosphere layer, and the below the tropopause, this is the troposphere layer. So here we can see the UVC is completely blocked by the or absorbed by the stratosphere layer, or we can say ozone layer. UVB is partially reaches on the Earth surface, and the most of the UVA radiation are reaches on the Earth surface. So here you can see more than 99% of UVC radiation is absorbed by the ozone layer, and almost 90% UVB is also absorbed by the ozone layer, and almost 50% UV radiations reach on the Earth's surface. Okay. Now the different factors affecting the UV exposure. Okay, so here many factors that are responsible for the UV exposure. Okay, so first one is the time of the year and time of the day. So the UV level mainly variable according to the height of the sun in the sky. So at mid latitudes receiving the higher amount of the radiations, that why there is more UV exposure during the summer months as compared to the winter months. During the early morning and late afternoon hours, the sun rays passing the greater angle. Okay, because the radiations are not directly on the Earth surface, they reach on the surface through a angle. That's why they cross a larger path. That's why there is a less exposure of the UV radiation during the morning hours and late evening hours. Then after latitude, the second factor is the latitude. So the UV level higher closer to the equator as compared to the poles. So closer to the equator, the sun rays have shorter distance because these near the equator, the sun having the shorter distance. So that's why there is the more exposure or more UV radiation as compared to the poles. Now the altitude. When we go on the height, so there is more exposure of UV radiation because when we go to the height, there is less atmosphere, or we can say there is the no atmosphere. So that's why there is the less absorption of the UV radiation. That's why the more exposure. Every 100 meter in the altitude, the UV level is increase approximately the 10%. जब हम हाइट में 1 किलोमीटर ऊपर जाते हैं तो each every 1 kilometer there is 10% increase in the UV exposure. The next factor is the clouds and haze. Okay, so the clouds and haze having some blocking effect on the UV radiations. Then after ground reflections. So the ground structure or surface structure is also responsible for the reflection as well as absorption of the UV radiations. Okay, here you can see the snow can reflect almost 80% of the UV radiations. The dry beach sand almost 15%, sea foam 25%, grass, soil or water reflect less than 10% of the UV radiations. So the reflection is variable according to different type of the surfaces. Now where does ozone come from? How ozone formation takes place in the atmosphere? As we know, ozone is a secondary pollutant. So जो भी secondary pollutants होते हैं उनका कोई direct source नहीं होता है. There is no direct source. They form in the atmosphere by the reactions of the primary pollutants. So the volatile organic carbons and oxides of nitrogen in presence of sunlight, they react and they form the ozone gas in the atmosphere. Now the Chapman cycle or Chapman reactions. So these reactions are responsible for the ozone formation as well as ozone destruction. So Chapman, this is a Chapman, and the full name is the Sidney Chapman. In 1930, discover these reactions. Okay, he explained the presence of the ozone in the stratosphere. The presence of ozone in the stratosphere. So these reactions are associated with the ozone creation and destruction, and this cycle of formation and destruction known as Chapman cycle. Okay, and this cycle is start from the photolysis of the molecular oxygen. So जो ऑक्सीजन के फोटोलाइसिस से ये रिएक्शन स्टार्ट होता है ऑक्सीजन के फोटोलाइसिस से. So when the UV radiation, the wavelength is less than 240 nanometer, they are absorbed by the oxygen. So here आप देखिए first reaction, this is the first reaction. When the oxygen, the UV radiation wavelength is less than 240 nanometer, they absorb the UV radiation and split into two oxygen atoms, O plus O. Okay. And these oxygen atoms react with the oxygen and they form the ozone. So likewise, the ozone formation take place. Okay. Okay. When the UVC radiation, or we can say the wavelength of UV radiation is less than 300 nanometer. Here in you can see in these two reactions, when the wavelength is less than 300 nanometer, or we can say 308 nanometer, the ozone is disintegrated by the UV radiations in the oxygen and O atom. Okay, plus energy. There is the release of energy, and these oxygen atom react with the ozone and form the two molecules of the oxygen. So this is the ozone disintegration, or we can say destruction reactions. So likewise, ozone formation and destruction take place, and this is a continuous cycle, and this cycle known as Chapman cycle. Now we discuss about the ozone layer depletion. ओजोन लेयर का क्या डिप्लीशन कैसे होता है? जनरली ओजोन लेयर डिप्लीशन का मतलब होता है कि ओजोन मॉलिक्यूल का डिग्रेडेशन और ओजोन लेयर की जो थिकनेस है वो कैसे कम हो रही है, ठीक है। और ओजोन लेयर की थिकनेस कम होने को ही हम ओजोन होल फॉर्मेशन कहते हैं, ठीक है। दैट इज नोन एज ओजोन होल। सो द ओजोन इज मेनली प्रेजेंट इन द स्ट्रेटोस्फियर एंड देयर इज ए लेयर ऑफ पर्टिकुलर लेयर ऑफ ओजोन दैट इज नोन एज ओजोन लेयर। ओके, सो इन 1974 Mario Molina and Sherwood Rowland. So these are two scientists who discovered the link between the chlorofluorocarbon and breakdown of ozone in the stratosphere. 1974 में मोलिना एंड रोलैंड ने ऑब्जर्व किया कि क्लोरोफ्लोरोकार्बन और ऑक्सीजन ब्रेकडाउन के बीच ओजोन ब्रेकडाउन के बीच में कोई रिलेशनशिप है इन स्ट्रेटोस्फियर। इन 1985 geophysicist Joe Farman, along with Gardiner and Shanklin. So जो फार्मान ने गार्डिनर और जॉन सैंकलिन के साथ एक फाइंडिंग को और पेपर पब्लिश किया जिसमें दे शो देयर इज ए वेरी low ozone concentration above the Antarctica. Okay, they publish a report and they observe that there is very abnormalities in the ozone concentration, or there is very low ozone concentration over the Antarctica. Okay, later on ozone depletion was found rapidly at the poles and at some extent to the equators. The largest Antarctica ozone hole recorded on September 2006. So September 2016 को सबसे ज्यादा ओजोन और सबसे बड़ा ओजोन होल को ऑब्जर्व किया गया। Then after the Curzon, Molina and Rowland, they were awarded Nobel Prize in 1995 for the chemistry of ozone depletion in the stratosphere. So these three scientists, they received the Nobel Prize for the chemistry of ozone degradation in the stratosphere. Curzon, Molina and Rowland. So these are the pictures of ozone hole over the Antarctica region. Here you can see 1971. So here you can see the extent of the ozone hole over the Antarctica in 1974. Here you can see in 1989. Again see the concentration level In 2006, again, you can see the concentration level in 9, in 12, in 17, and in 19. So here you can see 19, the ozone hole is again decreasing. Now the mechanism of ozone layer depletion. So what is the mechanism, what is the reactions that are responsible for the ozone layer or ozone depletion? Okay, so we know that chlorofluorocarbons or chlorine or bromine containing compound are responsible for the ozone depletion. Okay, so these chlorofluorocarbons they are broken by the UV radiation. So any UV radiation, it may be A, it may be UVB or UVC. They break down the chlorofluorocarbons in the stratosphere, and these chlorofluorocarbons they are degraded. They release the chlorine. Okay, and these chlorine react with the ozone. Here you can see these atom react with the ozone and they form the chlorine monoxide ClO and oxygen. Okay, and these chlorine monoxide again they react with the oxygen atom and they form the chlorine radical and oxygen. So likewise, this chlorine radical, free radical, they react continuously with the ozone molecule and they forming the oxygen. So this is a continuous cycling. Okay, here you can see the chlorine react with the ozone and they form the ClO plus O2. These ClO react with the oxygen atom and they form the Cl plus oxygen. So these again, these Cl release in the atmosphere and these Cl again react with the chlorofluorocarbon. So likewise, there is continuously decomposition of the ozone in the stratosphere. So one chlorine molecule or with chlorine atom can destroy up to 1 lakh 10 to power 5 ozone molecules. Okay. So you can see the potential of one chlorine molecule. And later on, it is also discovered or observed that the bromine containing molecules are 40 times more potent or more having the more potential of degrading the ozone molecules as compared to the chlorine. Now, what are the causes of ozone layer depletions? So mainly there are two type of causes, the man-made and natural. Both factors are responsible for the ozone layer depletion. So the man-made sources are almost 90% of total ozone depletion is responsible due to the man-made or anthropogenic sources. Okay, so many ozone depleting substances that is known as ODS, like chlorofluorocarbons, carbon tetrachloride, hydrochlorofluorocarbons, methyl bromide, carbon tetrachloride, and methyl chloroforms. These are known as ozone depleting substances. So more than 90% ozone is depleted by these compounds. The natural sources like sunspot and stratospheric winds, these are the two major factors responsible for the ozone depletion. So these are the different ozone depleting substances and what are their sources like the chlorofluorocarbons. So chlorofluorocarbons are released from the refrigerator, air conditioner, air cooler, solvent and dry cleaning agents. The halogens, these are released from the fire extinguisher, electrical equipment such as computer, military equipment in ships, aircraft and tanks. The carbon tetrachloride present in the solvent, degreasing agent, refrigerant, fumigant, and fire extinguishers. The hydrochlorofluorocarbons present in the refrigerator, air conditioners, insulating foams, and aerosol propellants. The methyl bromides present in the fumigants and pesticides, and the methyl chloroform present in the adhesive and aerosols. So these are the different sources of different type of the ozone depleting substances. So the chlorofluorocarbon 12 is one of the most dominant source for the chlorine in the stratosphere. तो stratosphere में mainly chlorofluorocarbon 12 is the major source for the that having the releasing the chlorine in the stratosphere for the ozone depletion, followed by the chlorofluoro 11. Now the harmful effect of ozone. So ozone is harmful for the living beings on the earth surface. It damages the human health. Okay, the overexposure is responsible for the skin cancer, cataract, sunburn, immune deficiency disorder, and rapid aging, tanning, wrinkles on the skins, effect on the growth of plants. There are reduce the yield of the plants. Okay, due to the UV radiation, it affect their growth rate, their flowering, and photosynthetic efficiency of the plants. Skin and eye cancer in the animals. So due to the UV exposure, animals are having the tendency of or probability of the skin and eye cancers. Threat of the marine life due to the UV exposure, then certain marine plankton decrease. Their number is decrease. Okay, there are many reproductive defects also observed in the fishes. So that's why their biodiversity, or we can say their population, is decreased due to the UV exposure. Chemical degradation due to UV exposure, several chemicals like plastics, wood, fabrics, and rubber get having degraded due to the UV exposure. Their quality is reduced. Now the different conventions and treaties related to the ozone layer protection. So first one is the Montreal Protocol. So this protocol was signed on 16th September 1987. Okay. So that's why they on 16th September, 60th September, every year we celebrate the World Ozone Day. But this World Ozone Day was celebration started from 1994. Okay, इस बात का ध्यान रखिए. And the Montreal Protocol was signed on 1987. This protocol was came in the force on 1st January 1989. So this Montreal Protocol was mainly related to for the stop of the production, use and import of ozone depleting substances to minimize their concentration in atmosphere to protect ozone layer. So mainly जो ozone depleting substances है उनका प्रोडक्शन, उनका यूज और उनके इंपोर्ट को रोकना इज द मेन टारगेट था इस प्रोटोकॉल का. ठीक है. सो इट द goal of this Montreal Protocol was to protect the ozone layer. So this was a landmark agreement to phase out all ODS substances. So the Montreal Protocol was the first treaty, or we can say protocol or landmark protocol or agreement that is for that is stress on the removal or phasing out of the ozone depleting substances. Then after second protocol is the Kigley Amendment. So एक Kigley Amendment क्या होता है? जब 16 सितंबर 1987 को मॉन्ट्रियल प्रोटोकॉल अनाउंसमेंट हुआ, तो उसके बाद में मॉन्ट्रियल प्रोटोकॉल की हर साल और हर 2 साल से मीटिंग्स होती रही अलग अलग जगह पे. सो और हर साल वहां कुछ ना कुछ अमेंडमेंट होता रहा. सो द किगली अमेंडमेंट, इट वाज द 8th अमेंडमेंट इन द मॉन्ट्रियल प्रोटोकॉल. सो 8वीं बार जो भी चेंजेस किए गए, उन चेंजेस को, जो कि एक किगली नामक जगह है जो कैपिटल ऑफ रवांडा, वहां पे एक मीटिंग हुई. दैट इज द 28th मीटिंग ऑफ पार्टीज in the Kigali, the capital of Rwanda, on October 2016. So October 2016 में the Kigali Amendment take place, and this was the 8th amendment in the Montreal Protocol. That why the name is Kigali coming from the their location of the meeting. And this Kigali amendment was came into the force on 1st January 2019. So according to this amendment, the signing country are expected to decrease the manufacturing and usage of hydrofluorocarbons about 80 to 85% from their baseline until 2045. So Kigali amendment में क्या कहा गया कि द साइनिंग कंट्री आर एक्सपेक्टेड, तो जो भी कंट्रीज अमेंडमेंट को साइन कर रही हैं वो हाइड्रोफ्लोरोकार्बन के मैन्युफैक्चरिंग और यूजेज को 80 to 85% कम कर देंगी until 2045 तक. And this reduction in the hydrofluorocarbon reduced the global rise in the temperature by 0.5 degrees centigrade by the 21st century. The agreement aimed to phase down the hydrofluorocarbons by reducing its manufacturing and consumptions. So India will complete its phase down of hydrofluorocarbon in 4 steps from 2032 onward, with the cumulative reduction of 10% in 2032, 20% in 2037, 30% in 2042, and 85% in 2047. So these are the India's target to phase out the consumption and production of the hydrofluorocarbons. Now the next one is the Vienna Protocol. This protocol was signed on 22nd March 1985 and it was came in the force on 22nd September 1988. And this Vienna Protocol is mainly related for the protection of the ozone layer. Okay, so here you can see there are two amendments. The first one is the Montreal Protocol that is related to the phasing out of hydrochlorofluorocarbon, and the Kigali Amendment was related to the hydrofluorocarbon. This is only for the hydrofluorocarbon, and the Montreal Protocol is related to hydrochlorofluorocarbons. So this is some minor difference between the Montreal Protocol and Kigali Amendment. So friends, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर वाचिंग दिस वीडियो. आज के वीडियो में इतना ही. अगले वीडियो में फिर मिलते हैं. तब तक के लिए नमस्कार.